going, and we're out. That's out there.
We're in the world.
Yeah, we've been birthed.
Can't wait.
Just prepare for Twitter notifications.
Yeah, no, I got them. All right, so we're live, and this is kind of an interesting place to be. Alex and I did this whole Game of the Year. He was gracious enough to have me on the Irrational Passions. What became the month-long Game of the Year celebration bonanza.
I don't want to brag, but it was pretty good.
That was like 10 or 15 podcasts that had to do with the Game of the Year, which
18
is
hours worth of podcasts.
So much.
Yep.
But it was totally worth it. So I said that he and I should podcast again, and here we are. We don't know what the show is. I think it's going to be an intermittent.
No. Don't like pull some shenanigans. Like you texted me and you're like, "Hey, we should do this. 30 minutes. Live, no script.
A half hour no scripted show, but I don't know how the longevity of how many of these are gonna happen. But because Alex kind of blindsided me in terms of the format of the last thing that we did together, I'm going to take over this time. Alex, I want to talk. We got half an hour here. I want to talk about 30 minutes, really 30 minutes. This is going to get very wacky. Nintendo's reappraisal of The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Because we spoke about Majora's Mask during the Game of the Year thing, and it had nothing to do with the Game of the Year.
Because we both loved that game. Yeah.
Yeah, and it'll come out again in 2014. It's going to come out in less than...
In 2014? Shit.
2015.
We missed it.
I'm going to go back in time. So I'm just preparing.
Okay.
For that. No, for 2015, next month, less than a month away, we have Majora's Mask 3DS coming out. And what's interesting about this is, so they re-released The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time on the 3DS. But that made sense because Ocarina of Time, especially to gamers of a certain age range, it is like the dark side of the moon of video games. It's this like perfect, everybody knows the references, like you could say Navi sucks.
So like, how is it the dark side of the moon if everybody knows about it? It's like, because I was under the impression that other side of the moon, like nobody's ever seen it, so it could be like really shitty.
Yes, but I'm talking about Pink Floyd's album, The Dark Side of the Moon.
All right, well, I don't.
The other side of the moon.
I'm like musically uninclined.
Okay, it is the Backstreet Boys.
All right, what the fuck are you saying now?
I'm going to use cultural touchstones that Alex understands.
I never listened to the Backstreet Boys.
It's like the Beatles. It's like I'm going to make you a mixtape. It's like the Beatles of video games for gamers of a certain age. So it makes sense that they'd re-release it because at every turn. They will make money. It's like Nintendo's Final Fantasy VII, but Majora's Mask, for the most part, has been largely
they remade it. They actually did the work. Square.
Right. No, I understand that. No, they did that, but I'm saying with Majora's Mask, it does not have. It has cult appeal, but for the past 14 years, it's never been. There aren't a tremendous amount of Majora's Mask references everywhere. It had the level in Smash Brothers Melee, which was great because the game had only come out a year before, and now you could see one of the areas in like GameCube graphics, and you're like, oh, I kind of wish they would have waited because it looks so good.
Yeah, like when you think about Smash Brothers Melee, like a thing that I always think about is like, you know, they had the level, they had like Young Link in that game.
Well, Young Link was also in Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, but like they could have easily made Young Link like his Majora's Mask self, and like had him have like a completely cool different moveset with transformation and shit. I mean, obviously the GameCube would just explode if you tried to do any of that.
I mean, it's to be honest, the GameCube's an extreme machine, so it exploded your mind anyway. It may as well have just done the same thing. But what's interesting with this re-release is that so Majora's Mask has this cult appeal, but it feels as though Nintendo's finally like bringing it into the real like Zelda fold. The game is coming out. There's a 3DS system that actually came out, or is coming out rather, that's themed around that game. There's 2 different special editions of the game coming out. Ocarina of Time didn't have a tremendous amount of stuff like this. Mm-hmm. But Majora's Mask kind of did. And with Ocarina of Time, they didn't futz with it too much, but they've taken a bunch of the elements. It's like they've listened to the reason why it wasn't as popular as Ocarina of Time. And they've tweaked it. So now when you play the song of Double Time to go somewhere else in the day to warp ahead in time, you can choose whatever hour you want, as opposed to it taking you in 12-hour increments. And the Bomber's Notebook is updated to actually give you more information about kind of the quest. So if you open the Bomber's Notebook and it says like, the Goron checks into the Stockpot Inn at 1 p.m. You can zoop to 1 p.m. and you can take his spot and then start the whole entire cafe, couples mask, trade sequence, or the 3-day arc, which is, I think, one of the most beautiful things in all of video games is
totally
that
agree.
3-day arc. And it's just so interesting to me. I don't know what changed, because it's not even like 5 years ago they were talking about, oh yeah, Majora's Mask. It seems as though there was such, like, fans had really started calling for it, and now they're like, okay, we're gonna really like push this one.
So like with me, the way I'm looking at it, which forgive me if this is just completely stupid, but I've been saying like related, I guess. I've been saying about this. There's a DMC Devil May Cry Definitive Edition coming out in March, right?
All right.
And that game didn't do as well as like Capcom wanted it to. And I've been like preaching like, hey, if you liked DMC Devil May Cry, this reboot, and you want them to make another one, buy the remake, buy the remastered edition, because they're probably going to gauge like the interest in that against possibly developing a sequel. So like them being like, all right, we'll give Majora's Mask another chance. This is like this weird thing that's still weird in the context of Zelda, even though Zelda is on the arc to get weirder, because like A Link Between Worlds went to a totally awesome different place.
Yeah, that game's incredible.
And it's absolutely fantastic. It was the Irrational Passions Game of the Year for 2013. I love it, and it did a little bit weird, but it kind of like stayed in this weird comfort zone of depending on everything that A Link to the Past established, right?
Right, of course.
But like it shows that they're willing to take risks with Zelda, and like, it looks like that they might be doing that with Zelda 2015. With however that could be formatted, they're saying similar things about that happened in A Link Between Worlds. Like you can go to any dungeon, you can go anywhere at any time. You just have to approach it differently depending on what you have. So you can kind of do anything, whatever order you want, which is awesome. So maybe my theory is that they're like putting Majora's Mask out again. They're like, well, let's touch it up, make it like.
But they're doing it in such a big way. They could have easily just released the game and said like, we have some new 3DS. It's got new 3DS compatibility with the camera, and that could have been it. But they went through the trouble of actually like tweaking the game and then releasing a 3DS and then 2 special editions. It's really like it's almost becoming again like they really are embracing the weirdness. Because if you remember around that time, I've been replaying The Legend of Zelda Minish Cap. The review will a classic review will go up on Read Retro soon. Mm-hmm. And the portable entries in the Legend of Zelda franchise have always followed the most recent console version. So with the Link's Awakening and Link's Awakening DX, there's a through line between it and Link to the Past. And it was admittedly the portable ones are typically weirder. So Link's Awakening was bizarre. But if you look at Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages, which came out, actually I think it was only a few months. They were definitely developed at the same time as Majora's Mask. Those games are fucking crazy weird. They're
awesome.
Like, dark and strange and like. Mm-hmm. But then okay, so Zelda got weird. From 2000 to 2001, it went bonkers weird. And then the next time that we saw Link, he was a cartoon in the Wind Waker. Wind Waker's an incredible game, but it's such a crazy 180 that they didn't really particularly go back to. There are shades of darkness in Twilight Princess, surely, because there's like kind of a dark world you turn into a wolf and all sorts of other stuff.
I mean, there's more than just shades. I would say like Twilight Princess is like. In some ways, like with Majora's Mask, there's a lot of subtlety involved and implication, as opposed to like outright saying how fucked everything is in that game. Twilight Princess is more kind of direct, and it's just directly dark, and in a way, it's less dark because of that. But keep in mind that it's still the only T-rated Zelda game. It is the only Zelda game with that rating, which I think is significant. It's something worth noting. They went so far on that, and then
they went. And then they went with Twilight Princess. And then the portable entries in the Zelda franchise, again, got really, really... They took the Wind Waker art style and aesthetic, which it was great for Minish Cap. No, no, no. I'm saying we're going
Okay,
we're going through
we're
time
jumping around.
as
Okay.
we're wanting to do, because after so yeah, Twilight Princess came out, but there was still like a Wind Waker-y vibe to Minish Cap, and then there were the two extreme. There was Spirit Tracks, and what was the other one?
Phantom Hourglass.
Phantom Hourglass, which were really really Wind Wakery, and then we have A Link Between Worlds. The Zelda franchise is weird, but it always felt like Majora's Mask was the red-headed stepchild.
Oh, totally.
Of the entire kind of bunch. I even hear that they went around and changed Clocktown a little bit to have like certain like graffiti on the walls in some places, and like make it even a little bit more chaotic as time kind of went on. Because you can also tell that the N64 Majora's Mask like maxed it out.
Oh yeah, it used that RAM expansion hardcore.
Oh my god, those 2 megabytes were used.
Woo!
Okay, yeah.
No, it's I think like I agree with you, but like it's Nintendo's got this weird thing where like I don't know if they like making money anymore, but like they are appealing to an audience that does exist. Like they don't appeal to audiences that don't exist. They're making a new Star Fox game, and like I don't think Star Fox ever sold well. like that.
That's true.
I don't know.
They also fucked it up pretty bad.
Yeah, they fucking really fucked it up, and like then they put out Star Fox Command on the DS, sells well, is good, and then they just stopped making Star Fox games. But
yeah, in the GameCube era was not particularly good to Fox and his crew.
No, I mean they made a great Zelda Star Fox game. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
much.
they did.
But
and then there was dinosaurs. So many dinosaurs.
But dinosaurs are cool.
I'm
just saying like. I think it's normal for them to kind of like do weird stuff, but them making Majora's Mask like, hey, let's make this play kind of normal-ish, like more modern, like all the super annoying things about this that were just like that's how we did design back in the year 2000, and then like we're updating it to like modern design philosophies that make it easier to play.
But they didn't really do that for Ocarina of Time. I mean, Ocarina of Time was admittedly like a flawless game. That game was fucking perfect.
All they did was visually change the water temple and make it so you could tap the bottom screen to put your iron boots on.
What they did, you're right. You know what? You're right. They did change the water temple
that was good. That was the raw spot of that game, and they made it just better in the only way it really needed to be, which is like look at these arrows on these walls and it'll tell you what the fuck you need to do. And you can tap to put on the iron boots.
Reasonable. Oh man, tapping to put on the iron boots is a whole entire dealie. So how recently have you played Majora's Mask? I know it's one of your top 5, right?
Top 5 like ever, or top 5 just Zelda games?
Zelda games.
That is my favorite 3D Zelda game.
Okay.
I'll say my favorite Zelda game is still Link to the Past. Like I don't know.
Game's amazing.
I don't know if that could ever be dethroned. Link Between Worlds came close, and I haven't played through Link Between Worlds a second time, so that could change. But like I've been doing this series on our Irrational Passions YouTube channel, which if you're watching this, you can go there right now. Just click the Irrational Passions thing. And I've been doing a series called Alex Plays Zelda, where I've been playing through all the console Zelda games from A Link to the Past on. And I played Majora's Mask first because I didn't really give a shit about the order I wanted to do in, and I really wanted to play Majora's Mask. So I played it in July or June of last year, of 2014.
Yeah, I played it about a year and a half ago. I wanted to talk to you about how do you think that it held up? Like, biases aside.
I think it's... The problem is, when you know what you're doing in Majora's Mask, that game is not really an issue. Like, if you know to go here, like, I have to talk to this monkey, I have to talk to this witch, and then I go through the forest and the monkey, find the witch, go back to the witch, get the potion, do this. Like, all these things are super complicated and not super direct. They're not communicated to you well. Like that whole first 3-day cycle where it's like, we're going to force you to sit through 3 days so you understand how this game works. And you have to do this one thing within those 3 days. But they don't ever really tell you what that is. Like, you need to go find the Great Fairy. You go to the Great Fairy, you need to go find a fairy to complete the Great Fairy thing. so you get the bubble, so you can shoot Skull Kid, so you can get the ocarina and play the Song of Time. Like, you need to do all those things, and I know that you need to do all those things. So it's like, oh, it's super easy. Let me just fucking fuck around, do this, get this heart piece, get this moon tier, give it to this guy because I already know what to do.
Right.
So in my eyes, in my context, like of knowing literally everything to do, like I know where everything is. I've beaten that game like 7 times. I love it. That game holds up incredibly well. But for someone like kind of going to it, you know,
it's inaccessible. Let's just put it bluntly.
It's just like
yeah.
You're thrown into this world, and you know there's a strict time limit stuff, and like you don't.
You're also not Link, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, you're this Deku Link, and you're forced to kind of like wait around a lot in that first beginning, which you know you can explore and kind of get an eye for the town and everything, but like they don't tell you what you need to do directly. So knowing what you need to do makes that game 100% easier. And so like that's like a big threshold, I think, to cross. But I think it's awesome, and it's got this mystique about it that I adore. And you know, it's like playing through it again. The music is the best, some of the best in the series, if not the best in the series.
Oh God, I mean, it's for a game that really, I think one of its main selling points is its atmosphere. The music adds so much to it, like the swamp, and then like Icana Canyon is really, really foreboding. Mm-hmm. I feel really, I mean, virtually every area has music that makes me feel really unsettled in a way that I only felt in the Forest Temple in Ocarina. The Forest Temple in Ocarina is very, very scared.
Yeah, and
scary.
The atmosphere is kind of like the big appeal for that game, and the way the atmosphere changes throughout the game. Like, you know, for example, you go to the forest area and the swamp's all poisonous and it's terrible, but then you beat the dungeon and like the monkeys are happy. They're not fucking, or the Deku scrubs are happy. They're not kidnapping monkeys anymore. You know, the water is clean. Everything's better, and it's got a brighter music, and it's got a lighter tone to it. But like, even within that progression, as you go through day 1, 2, and 3, like the music gets darker, everything gets darker, the vibe gets scarier, and the moon gets bigger. It's like these are subtle.
Have you seen that? The moon in the new one is fucking frightening.
It's horrifying. I don't know. Like, what do you think about as far as like it holds up?
So I played it, I want to say a year ago, and yeah, I kind of know where to go, and I kind of know what to do, but I was looking at it almost through new eyes, and that water temple in that game is also. I remember I was replaying it the first time that I ever replayed it. I didn't get to the end because I was like, you know, I think I was in high school, so it was like 7 or 8 years after the game had come out. And then I got to the water temple, and I remember on the Wii Virtual Console, I entered the water temple. I saw the first like screen where there's just fucking streams everywhere. Yeah. I said, nope, and I put the game down. Yeah. Because that temple is so esoteric. And I did it again recently. I did it. I completed it, and it holds up really, really well. But it's almost like there are certain parts of that game that like there's a pearl inside of the oyster, but you've got to spend a lot of time shucking it. Yeah. To get to that pearl. And I think that to expedite it isn't to make the game easier, it's just to make the game less like esoteric and ambiguous.
Like
it makes it more into a game.
Yeah, like make it something that someone can actually pick up and maybe get a hold of.
Right.
It's like, you know, I do things like when I play through the game, I always do this song slow in time. So like
always, of course, yeah.
So like the 3-day cycle is 54 minutes, right? And then you slow time, and each day is 54 minutes. You triple your time, and it's like a completely different game with significantly less stress. But like, I get to the final temple, the Stone Tower, which is one of the greatest dungeons that has ever been built in a video game.
It's amazing. It's absolutely, it's like flawless. Yeah,
it's fucking. It is a mind fuck in every corner and challenges you in every way, and it is still hard to this day. And I try to put myself in the context of like, you know.
Yeah, there's some mirror shield segments, especially that it's like, ooh, I really gotta like.
You can watch that video series of me playing it. I just there's anger that appears in some of those mirror shield parts. But like, you know, you get to Akana Canyon, you have to have gotten the Song of Storms from the graveyard, which has 3 different day things. And you get there, you play the Song of Storms, you know to play the Song of Healing to get the Gibdo mask, you go to the well, talk to all the Gibdos, bring them all the things you need to do, go up, go to the Akana Castle, break through the Akana Castle, which you need one of those barrels that only the Goron can use to get through it, and then you learn the epitome of emptiness, climb the stone tower, and at that point you've probably done 4 regular cycles of the 3 days. And then, like, you know, you go through the dungeon, and you go through it once, and then you get the light arrow, you come out and go through it all over again, completely differently, but at the same time,
upside down.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like, I still haven't gotten to the point where in the slowed Song of Time, I still can't do that in like 1 3-day run. I have to reset it and then go back to the Stone Tower. It's awesome and difficult and crazy. And completely unapproachable.
Yeah, no, that game is esoteric. If you sit down and somebody's like, explain to me the first... I was thinking about this earlier. Somebody who's never played the game before, like, okay, run me through the first hour of the game. You're going to sound like a fucking lunatic. You're like, well, obviously you got to get the Moon's Tear, and then there's the Big Fairy, but you got to get the Small Fairy to get the Big Fairy, and then you got to get the bubbles, and with the bubbles you could shoot the Mask Man, and then you get the Ocarina, and then the Ocarina gives you you get the song, but if you play the song, then you lose everything, so you got to know, the rupees get deposited.
You got to go to the bank, man, and he puts a stamp on your head, and he's like, I know you got the stamp on your head, and you're like, how the fuck does he know me? When I reset time, how does the bank not get empty?
Right, and then well, I mean, the game is just scary, and then you think like, oh, okay, finally, I have the Song of Healing, which is how I'm gonna like, or you learn the Song of Healing, and you're like, oh, finally, I'm gonna get to be Link, and then before you get to be Link, it's like a fucking man throttles you with his eyes open.
Yeah, and he's got a bunch of masks.
Think about the first thing that you can interact with in that game. It is a gnarled fucking Deku scrub that's like, it looks like he was like horrified before he died or something like that. He looks very sad.
And he's dead. He's also like dead. Like, this is a Deku scrub died and then turned into a tree stump.
That's some sort of weird like Sicilian shit before you start a game where it's like, yep, all right, here we go.
And it's like, and then like you have Tattle like check it out, and it's like, this shit sucks. Like, I don't know. I don't know, man. Like, I love that game, but
I'm so excited to replay it. I'm so excited to see what they did, because if they can make that game like better or more approachable without, because the game, it's like parts of it are just like the way it's set up is kind of broken. It's an incredible game, but it's like so. It's esoteric in a way that's really, really, really annoying, as opposed to something that's really challenging. Because challenging games are great. Like, if I die 50 times in a level in, like, Super Meat Boy or something, I'm like, okay, I've fucked up, like, an input. I can see the goal. I have an understanding of where to go next. Majora's Mask is just like, there are 4 directions, and you should probably...
Like, at least they tell you, like, go to the swamp first, then go to the mountain, then go to the ocean, then go to the north, or go to the east.
Yeah, that's they give you directions, and then absolutely no sort of help otherwise. So the streamlining would be great. I mean, I remember my Majora's Mask memories at the beginning of that game is I had a friend so I was playing the game, and then a friend called me over to their house, and I had to beat the first 2 dungeons for them, because they're like, I don't even know where to go or how to do it. And like, I barely did. Yeah. The dungeons are really, really, really intense, which is why you need to slow down time, because like, it's one of those things where, like, if you get really deep into a dungeon in like a JRPG or something, and then you're about to die, so you warp out using like an escape rope or whatever other thing. Like, you're gonna forget how the fuck you got to where you need to go. Yeah. Like, backtracking, like Furore's Wind would have been way more useful. Like, it's a way more useful concept in that game.
Yeah, Uku fucking showing up in goddamn Twilight Princess, the most annoying thing in the world, would have been real helpful in Majora's Mask.
Yeah, you just like you stay, just fucking stay, and then I can bomb out, and then I can come back, and here we go. Oh, also, you know that you can. What is it? You can like save anywhere now, or there's some sort of like quick save mechanic where you don't have to find an owl statue.
And it's you have to. I think there are more owl statues.
More owl statues, yes.
And one, you have to like find an owl statue, and then like you have to quit when you save. It's like you can save, but you quit afterwards, and then
then you have to restart.
Yeah, and then if you quit, then you just turn off. It's not like you'll just go back to that save. you'll go back to the Dawn of the First Day, and it's like, oh great, this is the best.
But it should say something that we both love the game, despite the fact that like what we're saying is bad game design.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of people are like, man, Majora's Mask is terrible, and I'm like, I love that game. I think it's great, but I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah. I'm just excited at the prospect of people getting to replay the game or try it for the first time, because it's an intimidating game if you hear about it, and so I'm glad that Nintendo is giving it like the full push, and I'm very excited. So I traded in my horse, my horse, a horse, my kingdom for a horse. I traded in everything to get a new 3DS, so I'm very excited for the 360-degree camera controls. And to see how the 3D holds up in that game, because I've heard the 3D in that game is actually pretty nice. Like it's kind of useful and helpful, and
you got the head tracking too, so you'll be set.
That's what I'm saying. You can't take 3D away from me just because there's a bump in the road. I mean, I'm gonna be playing it on a bus rather than driving and playing it. That would be unsafe. But if I was, safe in knowing
you'll just be throwing up all over your hot new system.
Yes.
No, I agree. Like, I'm excited at the idea that game might be playable to new people now, because then they'll get to Akana Canyon, which I know tons of people never did. They'll hear the epitome of emptiness, which is, I think, one of the...
about the sadness in that title.
Yeah.
The epitome of emptiness.
And they'll hear it, and it's like this incredibly beautiful song, and like you get the 4 shells of Link, and it's like, like this weird Kokiri Kid Link, and then Deku Link, and then the Goron that died to give you his face, and then the Zora that died to give you his face, and like you see these 4 statues like next to each other. Like, that's like a part of the game that tons of people never saw, because that game is so unapproachable. And it's incredibly powerful in a way where there's no dialogue. It doesn't ever tell you why it's powerful, but it's just dark. It's like you're leaving behind your body, your corpse, basically, as a standing reminder of the trials that you face. It's like, this is so deep and insightful and introspective.
So
yeah, it's awesome, and I'm glad that more people might be able to just give it a shot and just try it out.
See, I think that's a good place to end, because we've given everybody a taste of why we like the game. We're excited the fact that Nintendo is like, hey, redheaded stepchild or whatever, now you're promoted to just brother of Ocarina of Time, which it is. The game is like a direct sequel, which is also bonkers. Link is just like, I have to leave, and Zelda's like, all right, and then he's...
All right, take this ocarina that's like a super Helian family heirloom and shit, because I like you, you're cool.
Yeah, exactly. You do you, man.
Yeah.
And then you're so lost in the lost woods that you end up somewhere completely different. You're like, oh, this ain't Sacred Forest Meadow. This is fucking a whole place.
This is like I'm doing flips right now. Whatever I was gonna say, I'm doing flips over these tree stumps, and this is awesome. That kid took my
God,
horse.
how cool is it to do like the side cartwheel thing?
Oh, it's so awesome.
The side cartwheel thing may make that game better than any.
The most like superfluous aspect of that game is also its best characteristic: sideways cartwheels.
Sideways cartwheel, because it's such an unnecessary and unwieldy way. If you do that in real life, that's the worst way to try and get anywhere. Because the margin of error, like if you're off by a little bit, everything is unprotected. Your head is unprotected.
Link don't give a fuck.
I know Link don't give a fuck. He's got a bow. A bow's confirmed, by the way.
Also, like, a dungeon where you get the bow, you get the fire arrow, then the ice arrow, then the light arrow, and that's like the dungeon item for all of the whole game. That's just you get more bow throughout the whole game. I mean, come on, guys.
Just upgraded bow. They heard our fan letters.
Yep.
So make the bow the central part, man. And they did. All right, so Alex, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me, like, if you're watching this video, which is the only way to consume this at the time of, as far as we know.
Yeah, exactly. You have to put this in your N64, but if you don't have the expansion slot, you can only see Alex. You can't see me.
Yeah,
it's really awkward.
You can't see Brandt's. There's like the most plain white wall that has ever existed.
Because you could project whatever you want behind me. That's the whole point. Or maybe I haven't decorated yet. That's the other.
Yeah, we need to code that shit out.
Sure.
You can find me right here on YouTube, youtube.com/irrational passions. I do Alex Plays Zelda, which is still ongoing. I'm on my last game in the series, which is Skyward Sword. And you can watch the podcast in video form here on YouTube, uncut and unedited. That's a Rational Passions podcast. So, like, when it's break time, we're just like, I thought that was a pretty good segment, and then we all just disappear and go pee for 30 minutes and then come back and talk, go back into the show.
You're old men.
Yeah, pretty much. We drink beer, or I drink beer, and I have to pee every time I drink a beer. And then you can follow me on Twitter at @alfighter27, and you can see me talk about school shenanigans, and maybe I'm writing something or something not. And irrationalpassions.com, of course. What about you, Brandt?
So you can follow me on Twitter at Branj. There's BRANJ. You could read my writing at readretro.com. And there's this podcast I used to do, and it's coming back, called Minor League Geeks. There's still an RSS feed. But I have a new YouTube show with a friend of mine who is on that wonderful program. It's called Misdiagnosis, MISS space diagnosis. And the whole premise, I'm going to give you the elevator pitch. She's a board-certified nurse. I'm not a board-certified nurse. She gives me a disease or some other medical condition, etc., etc. I tell her what I think it means based on absolutely no knowledge, and then she tells me exactly how wrong I am and what the disease is. So if you want to see me act a fool, you could just search for Misdiagnosis. I think we're going to start posting it on Thursdays and Mondays, so you can check that out starting next week.
Sounds fun. Yeah, whenever that podcast you do, that Minor League Geeks thing comes back, you gotta let me know. I'll be there.
Absolutely will.
I know Connor is in bated anticipation.
Oh, it's going to be incredible. All right, so I guess thanks for viewing, listening, enjoying, imbibing, absorbing.
Yeah, I hope you like this. Maybe we'll do more of these. I think we will. This is fun.